Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information, and we are here on the Strictly Business Offseason edition. My name is Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav, and he is the captain of our ship. He is MC Holland34 on Twitter. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, welcome in and tell the people we were here less than 24 hours ago, and we were talking about all of the madness that transpired in college basketball in that short window of time that inspired tonight's show. Tell everyone how you're feeling. Tell everyone what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're trying to keep pace with all the madness. The madness has not stopped, my friend. It just keeps going. This portal's crazy. Got my board up to 200 players in there. So hopefully this thing kind of slows down before May 11th. But at this point, it feels like this thing might need to grow to 250. I know you're hoping for that. So, yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk about 15 players here that impact players transferring, and then 5 more guys that kind of shook up our top 20. At least a couple of them did. As for our last show a few days ago. So excited to talk about it.
Yeah, if you missed that last show, you should have a little flag popping up on your YouTube screen right about now. You can go back and watch that one after this live stream. But case in point, we counted down our top 20 players in the portal at that point, i.e. yesterday. And since then, 2 new players have entered the portal and have entered that top 20. And we're now getting to the fun part of the year where we are having guys start to commit to their new program. So that is exactly what we are doing tonight. We're going to run through 15 players that have recently committed to their new program. And like Mike touched on, we are going to cover those 5 latest players to enter the portal over the last 24 hours. So without further ado, let's jump into those aforementioned players that have committed to their newest programs. I should mention before we do, big ups to our guy, Jay Heinrich, taking the night off. Had to weave in the aforementioned for him. Hopefully, we will do him proud as he is kicking back at home. But, Mike, let's take a look at the first lot of 5 of these 15 guys that now have a new home.
Yeah, let's do it, man. It was tough to pick just 15, but for timing and show sake purposes and for sanity purposes, decided to stick with 15 commits over the last, I believe this is 72 hours. All 15 of these have gone down. First one we'll talk about down here at the bottom of the screen, Jackson Paveletske, the shooting guard out of Wofford, 6'3" kid, 175 pounds, taking his talents to Iowa State. And, Iowa State's got some nice little transfer commitments here. Starting with Paveletske. He's number 128 on our Green Screens Media transfer big board. An impressive freshman year. I mean, the kid can score from all 3 levels, averaged 15 points, almost 4 assists, shot nearly 40% from 3. So definitely going to bring some offensive skill to Iowa State here. And Coach Otzelberger, he just got an extension, I believe. I don't know if this is because he's crushing the portal again, or maybe that he's just a great coach. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what these guys do. It's going to be a very, very tough Big 12 with some of these other teams coming in like BYU and Houston. For the 1 year before Texas and Oklahoma head out. So, yeah, Paveletske headed to Iowa State. Let's slide on over to a kid that was at a Power 5 school, jumped to a smaller school, and that's Jae'Lyn Cohn. Tell us about him, Eric.
Yeah, Jae'Lyn Cohn is the next player that has announced his destination. He is joining Mark Madsen and the squad there at Cal. And Cohn comes in, shooting guard. He's coming from northern Arizona. He did play that season at Virginia Tech to start his career. Comes in at 5'11" and 175 pounds. And this guy is a pure bucket. Almost 18 points per game, almost 3 assists per game, but 40% on the nose from 3. So comes in, he is easily, at least thus far, one of the best shooters in the portal. And he really profiles as a nice piece to go along with Fardaws Aimaq that Mark Madsen has already bagged. So Madsen is getting work done early in his tenure as the new head man at Cal, and he has himself a serious outside shooting threat to go with AMAC along with Cone making his way in. Our next player up is coming from the ranks of Coastal Carolina. Mike, tell the people who he is and where he's heading.
Yeah, Essam Mostafa, the big man, 6'9", 250. He is the number 110 player on our green screen transfer board. Man, all he does is get points and get rebounds. Average 12 points, 10 rebounds. Committed to TCU, so a couple of dynamos here from the mid-major ranks headed to TCU. Jameer Nelson Jr., who we talked about the other day as one of the top 10 players in the portal. Jamie Dixon over here doing work. The pairing of these two guys can be very strong. Lampkin headed out to Colorado, so here comes Mostafa, kind of the same type of player, big bruiser inside, very tough kid. So looking forward to see how he makes the jump to the Power 5 ranks. And, yeah, looking like Jamie Dixon's building another strong squad.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, we're looking at an arms race in the Big 12, so important get for Jamie Dixon and the Frogs. Next player up is Justin Harmon. It's a combo guard coming out of Utah Valley, 6'4", 180 pounds, ranked 105th on Mike's big board. This is a player that was averaging 14 points, almost 4 boards, almost 3 assists in his last season there for Utah, and committed to Illinois. And I really like this fit, right? Sometimes we see guys struggle to make that jump up to a high major. I don't think that's going to be the case with Harmon, right? He's smooth. He's not afraid of contact competition. He's an above average athlete. I think he's one that, can answer the bell fairly readily at the next level.
Yeah, I really like that get for Illinois. They struggled at times in the backcourt. We saw Epps get into the portal. Sky Clark left the program a little early. So a really good get there for Brad Underwood. But we'll slide over to the last guy on this slide, and that's Nelly Jr. Joseph, one of our favorite players from the mid-major ranks. And it's interesting. He is obviously leaving Iona, where Coach Rick Pitino was at, and left for St. John's. But he is going to go play for his son, Richard Pitino, at New Mexico. So from one Pitino to the other. Pretty cool here, and this is going to be a scary New Mexico team. Junior Joseph ranks 82nd on our big board, averaged almost 15 points and 10 rebounds. Just a pure athlete inside, man, can bang around. Something that they really didn't have was a third option last year for New Mexico. They were the last undefeated team left in the season and kind of collapsed there. So pretty exciting stuff here for New Mexico. He's going to team up with Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr., who are set to return. Man, that's a pretty good big three there in the Mountain West. So look for them to make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious to know from you, Mike. You mentioned that it is Rick Pitino's son that bags the services of Nelly Jr. Joseph. And as we continue down this list, feels like a lot of guys that were sort of presumed to follow Rick Pitino over to St. John's are picking different destinations. Is that somewhat surprising to you at this early point in the cycle? Yeah,
I know there's another cat we're going to talk about in a little bit that did not pick St. John's. I think it's interesting to see kind of where Pitino's at right now. There's one more kid that potentially could transfer to St. John's. That is that's Danis Jenkins, who's not on our show today that we're going to talk about. He hasn't picked his destination, but he's a top 200 player on our transfer board. But yeah, I think overall Rick Pitino knows what he's doing, right? There are some extenuating circumstances for, a kid that we'll talk about a little bit later. So not too worried about it. I mean, this guy knows how to coach. He knows how to get players. So I think this is an excellent fit for Nelly Jr. Joseph. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch him pick and roll with these two guards. And look out, New Mexico, if they're not, they might, be the co-favorite to kind of start the preseason out here.
Yeah, I know we are far from talking about DFS, but another name that we should probably jot down in our little black book that we're going to be playing a ton to open the season next year. We will continue down our countdown of the players that have committed in the last handful of days. I am up next, and we have Ben Krikke, the power forward from Valparaiso, 6'9", 235 pounds, number 76 on Mike's big board. Last year, put up almost 20 points per game, solid on the glass, nearly 6 rebounds per game, and 2.1 assists in that last season at Valparaiso. And look, he has declared, he has committed to head over to Iowa. Obviously, there is a big hole to fill as Chris Murray exits and heads towards the league. Krikke is clearly not the athlete of Chris Murray, but he's pretty smooth, right? He's kind of got that rec center old man YMCA game. For me, there are some questions in terms of what he can contribute on the defensive side, but if nothing else, he should be able to come in and contribute pretty well on the offensive side and score the ball a bit. So Ben Krikke, our next player off the list and heading to Iowa.
Yeah, I love Krikke. It's going to be interesting to see how him and Rabracha fit. We'll see. Just an interesting pair. Obviously, losing the Murrays the last couple of years can be pretty tough to replace, but we'll see. We'll see how that Fran McCaffrey kind of handles that situation. Next up on our board here, number 73 made his decision on our big board here, and that's Jalen Withers, which was a little surprising. The power forward out of Louisville, 6'9", 220, averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, shot 42% from three. So he's a good shooter. He's a great athlete. Going to North Carolina. I don't know if that says anything else about where North Carolina sits with maybe some other guys. But nonetheless, obviously one thing that North Carolina needed is someone that can knock down shots, and it always helps when you have an athlete from the Power 5 ranks. I don't mind the pickup here. Obviously, he's a top 75 transfer for us. He has a recruiting pedigree. It feels like Heber Davis could maybe unlock some more potential from him. So Jalen Withers headed to North Carolina.
Yeah, you can do worse in terms of trying to patch over the hole that Caleb Love left than Jalen Withers. So definitely interested to see how he fits in for this Tar Heels team next season. Next player on our board is number 67 on Mike's big board, and that's Jayden Taylor, the shooting guard coming out of Butler, 6'4", 195 pounds, almost 13 points, almost 4 boards, a little better than a steal per game last season at Butler. He is also heading to North Carolina, but this time he's heading to NC State, joining the Wolfpack. Taylor is a super solid offensive player, above average on defense. This system runs pretty wide open, so I do think that sets up well to showcase the things that he is naturally gifted at. And obviously, there's the loss of Jaquavion Smith with this team, so there is opportunity for someone to step up and answer that bell. I like Jayden Taylor to be that guy.
Yeah, I think Jayden Taylor's kind of sneaky. Butler kind of an enigma last year on offense at times. It was pretty ugly to watch. And I think with a wide open system with Kevin Keatts, I think Taylor could really be closer to a 17 to 20 point per game scorer in that system. So actually a really good pickup there. I really like it. Kevin Keatts has done well over the past couple of years in the transfer portal. We'll slide on over to the next guy on our list. That's Marcus Domask from the Saluki, Southern Illinois. A wing player can play some forward depending on type of lineup here. He's 6'6", 215, average 17, 6 and 4. Coming to Illinois from Southern Illinois. So a really nice pickup here again for Brad Underwood, number 54 on our transfer board here. Very skilled offensively, can shoot a three. He's an adequate playmaker. I really like this kid's game. Maybe some questions on the defensive end, but Illinois struggled at times on the offensive side. So Domask should be able to come in here and make a few things happen offensively, and I'm excited to see what he can do. The next guy you're going to talk about, man, is one of my favorites from the previous year, and didn't quite live up to expectations, even though he had a pretty solid year. Why don't you tell us about Dayvion McKnight?
Yeah, Dayvion McKnight, the Hilltopper from Western Kentucky. One of our favorite players heading into the season from the mid-major ranks. And while he had a very solid year overall, almost 17 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists per game, not exactly the explosive campaign that we were all looking for. He now has committed to Xavier. So Coach Sean Miller has bagged the 50th ranked player on Mike's big board. McKnight, he's a big guard, right? 6'1", 205, has some mass to him. Very good athlete. Feels like he'll fit really well in Sean Miller's offense. So, this is a Musketeers team that has a question to answer with the exit of Sully Boom. He was a top transfer for them last year. He's now out the door, and it looks like Sean Miller is going right back to the transfer portal to fill that gap. So definitely a name to watch, one that we were very excited about last year. And this transfer over to Xavier really feels like it checks a lot of boxes for the style of games that he plays. So we will keep a close eye on that one. Before we move on to our next group of 5, I want to hear from you guys. If you are checking in on YouTube, do your part, hit those like and subscribe buttons, but specifically jump up into that comment section. Let us know of the 10 players we've talked about thus far. Which one are you most excited about their landing spot? Which one do you think maybe has the best fit? Or on the other side, there's someone that's kind of a head scratcher. We want to keep the conversation going with you. So drop those comments in. We will flash those up onto the screen and keep that dialogue rolling. Mike, our next group of 5 is fairly interesting as well. We're getting into inside the top 50 of your big board, and there are some big impact players that have new homes. Why don't you kick us off with someone heading over to those Memphis Tigers?
Yeah, them Tigers, man. Coach Penny doing it again. And this is a kid that is similar in stature to Coach Penny when he was, playing young into his NBA career, 6'7", 175. And that's Teafale Lenard, combo guard at that size. Averaged 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 block shots. This is a versatile kid. He can shoot threes. Great length at the guard position. Penny's going to know exactly what to do with him. Penny probably has more playmaking skill at his age, but Lenard can do a lot of things with that size on both ends of the floor. Really exciting to see, what he's going to be able to accomplish at Memphis. So great pickup here, number 48 on our big board.
Yeah, another solid get by way of the portal for Penny Hardaway. I will go to our next player, someone that is heading to the swamplands of Florida. That's Micah Handlogten. We're talking about someone that is a 7'1" center coming out of Marshall, 230 pounds, an absolute load. Last year, didn't do a ton on the offensive side, 7.6 points per game, but nearly 10 boards, better than 2 blocks per game. So there's still a ton of upside in this young man's game. Obviously, very strong rebounder, very strong shot blocker. Hopefully, we can see Coach Golden unlock a little bit more on that offensive side. But like with a lot of the teams we've talked about thus far, this is a Florida Gators team that has a hole to fill, namely Colin Castleton. So you talk about the transfer coming in, number 37 off of your big board, is definitely a solid building block to plug that hole.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. This Florida transfer class is turned out to be a really strong one here. Let's move on over to Ole Miss, who's turning in a pretty strong recruiting effort this offseason with new Coach Chris Beard, getting Brandon Murray via LSU, via Georgetown, he's picking all kinds of places to go play. But he's an explosive athlete, 6'5", 225, a tremendous two-way player. Could he be someone like a Marcus Carr on the offensive end for Chris Beard and a combination of Tyrese Hunter on the defensive side from his days at Texas this past year? He's number 30 on our big board. Man, he is a lot of fun. You turn on his highlights and you see him blocking shots and dunking on people. He had one of the best dunks of the year last year. Just an explosive athlete. Obviously, this is why he's ranked in our top 30. So Brandon Murray headed over to Ole Miss.
Yeah, Coach Beard is definitely getting after it early and often in his new tenure at Ole Miss. And like we talked about with the last player that I mentioned, so is Coach Golden, right? The next player up on our board, number 23 on your transfer board overall, player that was at one time in the top 10 before this thing went absolutely bananas. And that is Walter Clayton, combo guard out of Iona, 6'2", 195 pounds. 16.8 points per game, better than 3 assists, and shot 43% from range. So this kid is a dynamite scorer. He can heat up faster than a microwave, as you like to put it. And kind of interesting decision here, right? I think he is a player that most people kind of penciled into St. John's following Rick Pitino, and now all of a sudden decides to go up to the high majors, head over to Florida, and work with Coach Golden. I mean, look, obviously, 3-point shooting like that is going to travel pretty well. I expect to see him continue to fill it up from distance, but this is a player that still has a good amount of upside. So, as we round out this last group of 5 of players that have committed here recently, a lot of similar names, a lot of coaches that have really been getting after it. You can definitely add Coach Golden to that list. Mike, close us out. The past is prologue. We talked about this player and this team last night, and here we are seeing it come to pass.
Yeah, we nailed it talking about Kel'el Ware, the 4'5" man transferring from Oregon, 7 foot, 210 pounds, and growing this offseason. Committed to Indiana and Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson's been doing absolute work from what we can tell in the transfer portal. Obviously needing to replace old TJD over there. But no one's expecting Ware to be TJD, but I mean, this guy is a dynamite athlete. He was thought of to be a lottery pick going into his freshman year, a one-and-done type player. He has two-way upside. I mean, he can stretch the floor, block shots. People see his stats and don't realize that he didn't play very many minutes. So just wait until he plays 25, 30 minutes and really gets to, playing an NBA type system that Mike Woodson likes to run here. So, yeah, looking forward to big things from Kel'el Ware.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a very long list of players that are not TJD in this league. But in terms of trying to fill those shoes, you can do a lot worse than Kel'el Ware. So good one for Mike Woodson, securing that bag through the transfer portal. And like we talked about off the top, we also want to go through some of the latest additions to the transfer portal. Not only do we have guys out here choosing their new home for the season to come, but we also have guys that are just now getting into the portal madness. And I will kick us off. We have Elijah Hawkins heading, the point guard from Howard, 177th on Mike's big board. He's really kind of the classic floor general type. He can shoot a little bit from 3, 37% from there, about 13 points per game and 6 assists per game. So, those 2 seasons that he's had thus far at Howard have been fairly solid overall. I'm curious to see how his game translates if he is to go to a Power 5 school, right? There's certainly going to be plenty of interest. He is among the top options there in the transfer portal overall, but I'm not exactly sure that it's going to be an immediate impact if he does make that jump. If he stays in the mid-major ranks, certainly a player that can make a lot of noise for many teams. So Elijah Hawkins, 177 on our board, officially has punched his ticket to the transfer portal.
Made it onto Mike's big board, the GSM transfer big board. Let's slide on up. Let's get back into the top 100, man. Carlos Stewart. This just happened. All these are happening within the last 72 hours, but this one happened earlier this morning, I believe. Combo guard out of Santa Clara, man, averaged 15 points, almost 2 steals. Some really good hands and shot 40% from 3. Is the second leading scorer for Santa Clara. Obviously, the 3-ball travels, like you said earlier. I mean, this guy, the list I saw about an hour ago of teams after this kid, it's really, really long. So, he's going to have his pick of kind of where he wants to go. And, everybody's looking for, to be able to stretch the floor. He's going to be able to do that, and he's produced at a very high level in the WCC. So looking forward to see, his next move.
Yeah, definitely a name to watch. Another name to watch. This one hits a little bit closer to home for our guy, Mike, and that's Arterio Morris, the combo guard out of Texas. Number 65 on his big board. Look, last season, less than 5 points, about a board and a half per game. You would tend to think that playing time probably has a lot to do with this decision, right? He had difficulty breaking through on that very talented roster. I mean, look, Morris is, he's a former 5-star recruit. He is a McDonald's All-American. So he is a player that is explosive athletically. He's very strong defensively. Overall just has a lot of different skill sets that he can bring on the offensive side. Feels like he's, really looking for his opportunity and has chosen to head to the portal in order to find it.
That one hurts for me, but I can't wait to see what he does. I mean, he's an explosive player, like you mentioned. One that just happened like 2 hours ago, and
minutes ago.
Like literally, and hadn't been able to check Twitter since we've been doing the show. There might be someone else in there. Who knows? Matthew Cleveland, one of our favorite players from this past year, really came into his own in his second year. Man, small forward, power forward, could play some guard for you. He's 6'7". From Florida State and transferring out, averaged almost 14 points, 7 rebounds, almost 2 assists a game. And he slots in at number 15 on our big board. So, knocking someone out of our top 20 that we just talked about a few days ago. But that's how this portal is. He's going to be a very good get. Struggles a little bit from range, but really offensively, like it's pretty scary what this kid's ceiling is at his size and playmaking ability, and his ability to play multiple positions on both sides. It's going to have a lot of suitors, and it's going to be very fun to see where his next choice is going to land him.
Yeah, another player that when we did the show last night was not on the list, and that will certainly have a laundry list of teams that have reached out and expressed interest is Matthew Cleveland. The last player that checks a lot of those same boxes is now all the way up to number 5 on your big board, and that's Jesse Edwards, the big man out of Syracuse, 6'11", 230 pounds. We talked about it ad nauseum with Kel'el Ware. Someone of that size, an extra 20 pounds of mass really goes a long way. So this kid is an absolute load, right? Averaged better than a double-double in his last season with Syracuse, and almost 3 blocks per game. I mean, just defensively and on the inside, an absolute game changer. The thing that's really interesting about him, it's not like he was weak on the offensive side, right? He almost scored 15 points a game, but there's still a lot of runway in front of this kid in terms of his ability to continue to develop and continue to grow on that offensive side. And if nothing else, he's getting out of that 2-3 zone. So, there's potential, even if he doesn't take a significant leap in terms of his skill set or his ability, just playing in a more modern offensive system can potentially give this kid some lift. So Jesse Edwards, our number 5 player on the big board, is now up for grabs. We will certainly keep close tabs on where he might end up.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about these guys that just entered. I mean, we'll probably have a fresh batch tomorrow, but we're gonna keep bringing it to you guys all off season, and I'm really excited because tomorrow we kick off our head coaching interviews. Lorenzo Romar out of the WCC, head coach of the Pepperdine Wave, is going to join us tomorrow morning. Looking forward to talk about his second stint here at Pepperdine and kind of what he's expecting this offseason, get his thoughts on Maxwell Lewis, who's projected to be a late first round pick, and just some of the things that he's doing with this program this offseason. We're also going to be talking to head coach Randy Bennett of the St. Mary's Gales, who, if Alex Dukas, who just said that he is coming back for another season, had not gotten hurt, who knows if the UConn would be the national champion. So St. Mary's with a very, very strong year last year. We're going to talk to Coach. We're going to put him through the grinder a little bit, have some fun. But we're doing it all, covering the transfer portal. We're going to talk to some head coaches. We're just going to keep bringing it, updating the transfer board pretty much daily, and we'll bring it to you guys, man. I'm excited about the offseason and everything that's to come with us.
Yeah, like you mentioned, or at least to restate, our interview with Coach Romar will be live at 11 Eastern tomorrow. We are also assuming that there's probably going to be some portal news between now and then, so we'll close out that show updating you with the latest from around the world of the transfer portal. And then, like you mentioned, sticking with our West Coast tour, sticking with the WCC, we've got Coach Randy Bennett up next after that. So make sure, if you are not already, hit those subscribe buttons, hit that notification bell, because we're going to be pushing this content out all off-season line. Sticking here with Green Screens Media is the easiest and best way to get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.